Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm continuing on with my series of covering the new items. So today it is Marksman items. These are staying relatively similar with slight changes to Kraken Slayer and a couple of adjustments to a bunch of items to kind of balance out the power. The one new item we have is Terminus, which is an on-hit kind of tempo based Marksman item, so that's pretty cool. We have lost a couple of Marksman items though. Shrouders, if you considered it a Marksman item, the likes of Varus and sometimes Jin, is gone. And on top of that, we have also lost Gale Force, so no more dash within the Marksman role, which is a nice change. It was quite frustrating to play against, and it had to be kept slightly on the weak side, because otherwise it would end up being too strong in pro play. So let's get into the items. To begin with, Runan's Hurricane is staying the exact same. It's in a fairly good spot on live at the moment. Champions can pick it up if they do want that AoE. The likes of Jinx, Varus, Kog'Maw, Twitch come to mind as being good Runan's users. They can opt into it if, they want the AoE and they want the wave clear. It is an option for them. So Phantom Dancer is where we start seeing a couple of changes. Phantom Dancer is losing 5% attack speed. It is gaining 3 movement speed. On top of that, Spectral Waltz is being changed, that it goes up to 5 stacks of 7% attack speed for a maximum of 35%. On current, it's 7 stacks for 3 seconds, attacking 4 times causes Spectral Waltz to grant an additional 30% attack speed. So losing some of the movement speed on the Spectral Waltz, gaining it kind of back through the item, still down though. On top of this, we are also seeing that it's losing a bit of attack speed on the main stat line, but then gaining it back through the tempo on the, or stacking it on the Spectral Waltz. 5 stacks, 4 stacks, it's not a huge difference. The main thing here is the fact that you are losing that 7% movement speed for 3 seconds on attacking. It's gonna hurt because only gaining 3% back it enables map coverage for the most part. Like, you get more map coverage, but then you lose the fight movement speed. So overall, Phantom Dancer stays relatively neutral, if anything a bit powered down, which is kind of unfortunate. It is in a fine spot on live at the moment. A lot of champions could be picking this up when they don't pick it up as much as they should be. This probably discourages it a bit more, but can still be picked up by some of its champions. Wit's End is changed. I covered this yesterday. The tenacity on it is quite nice. The attack damage going off of it opens it up for more champions as options. The likes of Kale was still really like this item. Didn't care as much about the AD as the stat line, like the magic resist. The tenacity would be really nice on her, especially into AP laners where she does want that early magic resist. Moving on, More is staying the exact same, covered this yesterday. Mana Moon Ace also staying the exact same, covered this yesterday. The only change here is the build path is a bit different because Caulfield's Warhammer is slightly changed with the recipe including the new moat thing, which gives like 5 ability haste. Nash's Tooth is losing 10 AP. The price is going down by 200. I don't know if the ratio is changing on a caffeine buy as it isn't listed here, but if it's only 10 AP, that's not too bad. It's fairly neutral. It's going to hurt Kaiser, definitely, as Kaiser really liked having 100 AP on this item as it allowed her to get W evolve. Losing that kind of hurts, but yeah, it's still relatively power neutral, bit power positive if anything. Yeah, it's going down in 200 gold in cost, which is nice because it allows you to get this on here earlier, which is good for a lot of champions. Gitsu's Rage Blade is being adjusted as it's no longer a mythic. The Wrath is now just attack supply 30 magic damage on hit. It no longer converts critical strike chance into 150 more. Seething Strike is now a tempo, or is still a tempo based thing where you are gaining stacks as you hit people. 8 to 32 stays the exact same. Attacks apply your on hit effects twice when fully stacked, which is also the same here. So overall, not too bad. You are losing the conversion on the crit strike chance, which kind of hurts, especially later on into the game. But like early on, this item is still really nice. Like as a first slot item, Ginsu's is a very good option. 200 gold down, it really works quite nicely on Kog'Maw. This is probably a, well, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a broken rush item on Kog'Maw. Like this isn't enough of a like losing for what you're losing here in 200 golden cost, this isn't enough until later on into the game. So you are just buffed early on as you get this item earlier on. So that's pretty nice. The Collector is gaining 5 attack damage. It is losing 2 lethality, however. On top of that, nothing else changes. So staying the exact same, bar, yeah, the 5 attack damage and the 2 lethality. Lethality is being changed next season, so you now get access to the full amount from level 1, rather than it being a scaling stat, which is, well, it was kind of confusing because a lot of people didn't know that. So this is probably power positive, if anything, power neutral. But Collector in a very strong sort at the moment, a great snowballing item. So yeah, definitely good. Kraken Slayer is being adjusted. It is gaining 5% attack speed. It is having the bring it down passive changed, so it still has the every third attack deals certain amount of additional damage. However, the amplifier comes in when on targets missing health, rather than being an amplifier on the original third attack, which is a pretty good change. So allows you to get a bit more out of the execute damage, and it feels more like an execute item rather than being a stacking item, which, yeah, it's pretty good. That's definitely a good change. The argument is that, like, losing the damage into tankier comps is pretty bad, whereas this one's better into squishier comps, where you can get access to the target missing health damage quicker, and yeah, just amplify your damage at a quicker rate. So moving on, Static Shiv is going to be staying the exact same. No changes here. It is losing the ratio. No longer has a 50% AP ratio, which hurts the likes of LeBlanc if she goes for static into AP route, which doesn't often happen. It usually tends to be just for static into AD route these days. We do have to be careful with LeBlanc, right? Obviously, she's a great static abuser. Other than that, this item doesn't see a huge amount of play on a lot of ADCs at the moment. The likes of Sivir can pick it up. Vayne obviously does like this item, but also can opt into something like a Storm Razor. Yep. Rapid Fire Cannon is gaining 5% attack speed. It is losing nothing for it. It is just gaining 5% attack speed. I mean, that's not bad. RFC, not a bad item at the moment. Works quite nicely on the likes of Lucian. On Jinx, it can be a good item. Jhin, obviously, really likes RFC. Caitlyn, another one who really likes RFC. So, yeah, RFC definitely looking pretty good going into next season. Essence Reaver is going up in 100 gold of cost. It is losing, is gaining nothing. So it is just gaining 100 golden cost. That's if it was bad. Not a huge amount of people use Essence Reaver at the moment. Even the likes of Lucian doesn't use it a huge amount. If they gave it like 5 AD on top of giving it 100 gold more in cost, then it would make it more appealing as like a rush option. There's still a high chance that Lucian does end up using this as like a rush option. But there are loads of other options and what he can pick up. So interesting to see. Immortal Sho is having 2% more lifesteal added on, and on top of that, it is now only giving a shield instead of gaining 30% attack speed for 8 seconds when the shield drops. The shield is going up though, so that's quite nice. Definitely make you feel a bit more durable on top of the lifesteal. Gives you a bit more health, so if you are looking for a tanky ADC item, Immortal Sho is definitely the way to go. Is it a buff? I'd say yes. Honestly, for what you want Shilbo for, this is a buff. Losing the attack speed does hurt a bit, as it's nice for likes of Yasuo, who when Immortal Shilbo procs, he can amplify his damage with his attack speed. But for the most part, getting access to more lifesteal, access to a bigger shield is definitely a nice thing. Bakura Scimitar is having its stat lines stay exactly the same. On top of that, Quicksilver is also staying the same, so no adjustments to Bakura Scimitar. Mortal Reminder is not being adjusted either. It is staying exactly the same, which is a bit of a feels bad. It just feels worse than LDR for the most part. When you compare these two items to each other. So, I mean, LDR is being changed, it's gaining 5 AD, and the Giant Slayer is being changed, so you now deal up to 50% bonus damage against champions with greater max health than you, up to a cap of 2,000, where it used to be 22% bonus damage, up to a cap of 2,500 health difference. So, makes it more access, well, makes it nicer against bruisers and stuff, because you can access the full amplifier, but you're still not gaining back the amount of damage you would have lost from the previous Giant Slayer. So it's yeah, it'll be fairly power neutral. Gaining access to 5 AD though does make wave clearing easier, does make you do more damage to objectives and stuff like that. So in a way, it is power. I mean, I'd say it's probably power positive. As you do value the AD quite heavily, and not always are you going to be hitting targets with up to 2,000 or up to 2,500 more health than you. So yeah, overall, probably power. I mean, for the most part, power positive. If you are very, very min-maxing this item though, then it is power neutral, maybe power negative. Overall, the main thing here was I want to do a comparison between Mortal Reminder. So the main selling point here is if you want access to more damage and greater high health target slaying capabilities, then LDR will be the way you go. Mortal Reminder will be the way you go if you want access to Grievous Runes, which a lot of ADCs, if they are going something like a Rune, should be picking up more option. It is still an armor penetration item, it does have value. However, LDR will be the go-to if you are not looking to pick up anti-heal and you just want to amplify your damage. If the likes of someone like Amundo has Bramble on your team, then something like LDR becomes nicer, as you already have the anti-heal within your team. Terminus I covered yesterday. It looks, well, so the stat line is pretty bad for a 3k gold item. However, the main selling point here is the juxtaposition, which has a really strong passive of giving you a lot of armor pen, a lot of magic pen, and lots of armor and magic assist if you can stack it up. Really strong looking item for like sort of Cogmore, Varus, possibly Twitch if he ends up going like an on-hit route. There are some maybe melee champions which might opt into this if they can get access to the armor and magic penetration. I'd have to look a bit more deeply into this. But yeah, looks decent for an on-hit champion, especially if they can opt into durability and they have access to the armor, like good access to armor and magic penetration within their kit. Stormrazor is gaining 5 AD. It is going up 100 gold in cost. It is also staying exactly the same on the damage, and the movement speed is staying the same. So overall, just 100 gold more cost and 5 more attack damage. Honestly, this does look like just an appealing standard first slot item for most ADCs, the likes of Caitlyn, Jhin, Lucian possibly, Sivir, if you're not opting into something like a static Shiv. Looks quite nice for them. Blade of the Ruined King, covered yesterday. It is going down 100 gold in cost. The damage is staying the same. However, the main thing here is that Clawing Shadow or Siphon, depending on which variation of the item you look at, is being changed. It now is just a slow on your first attack for 30%. It no longer steals movement speed, which is overall a nerf that does hurt. But not only that, you are also losing the damage, the 40 to 103 magic damage, which can be pretty big for killing down a target. So I'd say this is a nerf towards Ruined King, which is kind of unfortunate, as it's not the greatest item in the game at the moment, which is commonly misconceived as Ruined King is, like, people consider Ruined King stronger than it actually is, because it is a strong rush slot item when people don't have access to durability. When people get that armor, it becomes a lot weaker of an item. It is weaker as a later game item as well. You want this into primarily just health stackers. It's not as good into just standard targets, but it is a nice first slot item, as it is a yeah, it does do a decent amount of damage for chunking down targets without armor. So yeah, the main ones of course I covered yesterday: Varus, Twitch, Cogmore. For like melee champions, Viego, however, it might still be kind of bait on him. Belveth is another one who can use this item. However, once again, she was mainly going Stridebreaker, Cleaver variations, so even then it felt kind of bad. Set, Renekton are pretty bait champions to go Bork on. Moving on, GA is gaining 10 AD. It is going up 200 gold in cost. But the main thing here is it is losing the stopwatch within the build path, which instantly makes this item less appealing. You really valued having that stopwatch as an ADC. Now that you've lost access to it and it's gone up in cost, I wouldn't be surprised if we just don't see a lot of GA. Like, the stat line's bad. The rebuff doesn't feel as good as maybe it once used to. And yeah, the cost going up is definitely going to hurt this item. IE is going down 100 gold in cost. It is losing 5% additional damage on 5% additional critical strike damage. So overall, I'd say this is relatively fine. I mean, this is fine. Like, IE is still a really strong item if you kept at this, well, going down 100 gold in cost for just losing 5% critical strike damage. Definitely a good item as like a third, maybe fourth slot. You could maybe even go the second slot if you already have crit amplifiers within your kit. The likes of Tryndamere might pick this up. Yasuo, Yone, and then some other champions which can kind of like opt into that path. But for the most part though, obviously Marksmans are definitely going to love this item if they are not going something like a Navori Quickblades. So Navori is going down at 100 golden cost as well. It is losing 5 AD. It is also losing a bit of damage on the Transcendence, so your attacks reduce your a bit of cooldown, I mean. Your attacks reduce your non-ultimate ability cooldowns by 50% of their remaining cooldown. It's now down to 12% of their remaining cooldown. So, yeah, you're losing access to a bit of CDR, but in turn, it's going down 100 golden cost. It's staying relatively power neutral, so that's fine. I mean, it's a bit power negative, but Navori is a good item on the current patch, so it doesn't surprise me. And then Bloodthirster is staying the exact same. Bloodthirster is a very, very nice item for when you're ahead of the curve, if you're not being giga chunked by like an assassin, and you have access to that additional AD at all times. It is a great lifesteal option, great AD option, really good on a lot of marksmen as like a third, fourth slot option. So yeah. Overall, Marksman's looking relatively fine next season. Not a huge amount of changes, just a bunch of like a decent amount of minor stat adjustments. Not going to do a huge amount. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.